Hi, this is Ushio, and welcome back to Angels with Scaly Wings. In the last part, we kinda hung out with Emerald, and we told her, about that comet, might want to take a second look. So hopefully that is well underway and then under investigation. Also, speaking of investigating, we checked out Damien's apartment, he's currently arrested, and we got some dirt on him, but it's another day. So we awoke to the sun shining down on my face, warming my skin, and pretty much blinding me. I never really liked being a morning riser, but stuff had to be done. I put my clothes on and got ready for the day. Time to knock out another 2 dates, which is what we're gonna do. So today we are gonna hang out with Lurm. I'm following, there is like an advised order of events as made by the mod maker. So yeah, we're gonna do this. So Lorem is the next one we're gonna be seeing. How's the video game coming, man? Might be similar to the previous date in the original game, might be a bit different, we shall see. There you are, come in. Sure. Honestly, I can't believe you agreed to do this again. It's my pleasure. Now that I've had the chance to work through everything from last time, we can do some real work. Great. I did a staggering amount of research on mythical humans. Let me show you some of the stuff I found. Sure. We sat down at the coffee table, and Lorem opened up a laptop and started to type away. Seeing the laptop brought back memories. In our world, they become obsolete a long time ago. Before I show you the images though, I should probably tell you that some are really weird. Just don't take them the wrong way, it's culturally insensitive. You already told me about the 4-headed human, so I think I can handle this. Alright. We got some creepy, scaly kind of dudes. Yeah. Looks friendly. This one's supposed to be one of our ancestors? Well, it does remind me of some of the dragons I've seen here, but I'm not sure what humans have to do with this. You remember the myth about our creator turning into a dragon, right? I nod in response. Now, here's an interesting question. What species did that human turn into? There are a number of dragon species nowadays that aren't genetically compatible with each other. Did the human choose one of them? And did they perhaps procreate? A shared ancestor's one option. This would mean that the different species split after the human's involvement in our creation. If human DNA was involved in some way, this might explain how our different species came to be. Take a far ancestor of ours and apply various amounts of human DNA. The result would be a number of different species, each with a different amount of resemblance to humans. Interesting. Now, it's been said that an upright stance and being able to walk on 2 legs is a more human trait. Right. In any case, it's one of the things that makes humans unique. As a result, some people believe that certain species share more traits with humans than others. I mean, that's kinda true. They think it makes them more noble or something, but luckily this doesn't happen often. You can walk on 2 legs as well though, right? Sure, in this theory of shared human DNA, this puts me somewhere in the middle, since I still have wings and horns. I can see that. Here, look at this one. Oh hey, it's me! That's a gribbly kind of dude. What's with the little horns? Since we don't know what the original humans looked like, we can't exactly define what traits separate us from them. As a result, our interpretations of humans can vary wildly. I'm not sure he's a particularly friendly one though. Actually, I think this is supposed to be a human female. Interesting. There are some that don't think humans are friendly at all though. Really, so far I've only heard positive things about us. Some interpretations of our myths don't exactly paint you in the best light. There are also people who oppose the idea of human worship and what their involvement has meant for us. In what way? They say the human interference is unnatural and that we need to get back to our roots. And how do they think they can do that? Apparently it means refusing to use modern technology and living in caves or the wilderness again. Like an animal? Pretty much. Most of us think those people are crazy though. As long as they're not hurting anybody, I guess. They're harmless, really. You probably won't see one of them around here anyway. This is an interesting style though. Do you know how the pictures were made? No, I'm sure that information was provided when I looked them up in the library, but I didn't copy all of that. And you're using these as references? I'll make do with what I can get. Maybe now you can see why I wanted your help though. Okay, what do you want me to do? I just want to make some quick sketches. You can stand over there by the wall. Okay, I can do that. I walked up to the spot he indicated, and when I took my place, I saw that he'd laid out a number of pens, paper, and other art supplies on the table. Oh, this is going to take a while, isn't it? I'll try and be quick. Do you want me to strike a pose or something? A T-pose should be enough to get started. What's that? Just point your arms sideways, so you look like a giant T. Oh, I get it. Raising my arms to the sides, I wondered how long it would take. Great, now try to stay as still as possible. Can I still talk though? Sure, as long as you don't talk with your arms. As I wasn't allowed to move my head, I stared at Lorem sketching my figure. This went on for a few minutes, until I suddenly heard the sound of a door opening. This is pretty similar to the original date in the first game, but it's fine. Hiccup Ipsum. Hey man. Low-key prankster. Yo, hey. Alright, the human was gonna visit today. I totally forgot about that. You don't mind if I take a seat, right? You just want to study this guy. Like you aren't doing the same thing right now. Besides, this room is as much mine as it is yours. I'll just watch and be quiet. I thought you had experiments to run. And they're running. I'd rather not be confined to my tiny room for the next 2 hours, staring at the ceiling and waiting for them to finish. But no experiments on Ushio. No thank you. Okay, I'll sit here. Maybe take some notes. I'm sorry. This is my roommate and longtime best friend, Ipsum. Nice to meet ya. His scientific bluntness might be off-putting, so please bear with him. Speak for yourself. So much for those two being best friends. Lurm returned to his drawing, the silence only being interrupted by the strokes of his pencil. Something interesting happened at work today, though. Did they finally figure out it was you playing all the pranks? No, they'll never catch me. I was talking with a colleague about the humans here, and I offhandedly mentioned that Ushio was going to come over. I don't like where this is going. Some hours later, Anna barges into my office and says Ushio is off limits to anybody besides her as far as tests and experiments are concerned. Well, I'm not taking any samples. I could hardly be blamed for just looking at him. Yes, but it does make me wonder. Hey, did you agree to visit her and undergo her rigorous testing regimen? I stick it to myself as I quickly think on how they might react to something they've never heard before. Time to see some reactions. Okay, it's changing now. We're changing things up. More than that, we're kind of dating. That gets a wide-eyed stare from both of them as Lorem drops his pencil. What? Is that true? Yeah, it is. Are we talking about the same Anna here? Red and white scaled runner with a chip on her shoulder, aggressive mean streak, and a haughty attitude. Yup. I never would have imagined that. Lorem picks up the pencil again and continues his sketching. Well, good luck to you then. Oh, and Lorem, have you seen my Ipsum sphere recently? Damn, I left it home again. Didn't you take it with you when we went to the park the other day? Yeah, I did. Well, that's the last time I saw it. I must have lost it then. I already searched the whole apartment. Did you go into my room? No. Aha, maybe someone found it then. I had it registered in my name when I got it, so if anybody found it, it should show up sooner or later. Okay, so what is the sphere? It's just a glorified toy for grown-ups, really. You have no idea what you're talking about. An Ipsum sphere is a very sophisticated tool with a countless number of uses. Like what? It can levitate and follow you around, take photos. You can even use it as a calculator. Making it a glorified toy for grown-ups. I use it for my experiments. Well, if they can take photos, I wouldn't need to stand around like this. That is, if we had it here now. It is a great companion for all situations in life. It's much easier to draw from a live model than from a photo though. Easier for you, maybe. I hope it doesn't take much longer, because my arms went numb a while ago. Yeah, I think you can relax for now. I'm nearly done with this one. A tingling sensation went up my arms as I relaxed. Slowly, I began to regain feeling in them. Okay, turn around. I thought we were done. Not unless we want our humans to lack a backside. So that's what this is all about. You know what I mean. I know exactly what you mean. Isn't it my turn to draw you now? That's not how this works. I wouldn't mind getting a portrait of myself. I can already see it. The light shining from above, caressing my luscious mane, highlighting each lock as they interplay. This is gonna be a long day. Depends on how fast you are. As I was now facing the wall, I couldn't see what Ipsum and Lorem were up to. After a few seconds of silence, I heard some whispering coming from the couch. What are you talking about? I don't want to be rude, but I was just curious about your vestments. He said, and I quote, "This would be more interesting if it wasn't for the clothes that he's wearing." A smirk. Yeah, I see how it is. I'm just saying, it would be hard to study an insect if there was a piece of cloth draped over it. Wearing that much just seems odd to me. Hey, I'm not an insect. If humans wear clothes like this, it's only appropriate to depict them as such. And my scientific curiosity shall remain unsatisfied. Because Ushio's not here to do that, and you'd get in big trouble with Anna. We actually have a pretty big variety of vestments. I could tell you about it. It's like a whole cultural thing, man. Sounds good, but not right now. I have to finish this up first. Okay. So, Ipsum though. I've heard a lot about experiments and science now, but what do you actually do? I work in the facility as a biologist with a minor in physics. In addition to the office, I also have my own setup here at home. I assure you, it's properly isolated from the rest of the apartment. It even has a fume hood to prevent accidents. But I only use it for the smallest of experiments, usually things unrelated to my job. Also, maybe we need to catch Ipsum at some point and told him about how we got to this parallel world, because he kind of helped us regain our memories as we came through it, the portal again. Sounds interesting, but what about theoretical physics? Don't get him started, or we're not going to hear the end of it. Maybe you'd like to talk about your hobby instead then, Lurm. Isn't this already a hobby? I guess you could say so. I was talking about his other hobby though. Oh, that. I don't know, it's a bit embarrassing to be honest. There's no need to be embarrassed about your hobbies. He likes flowers. Once, he even made a crown out of daisies. Cutest thing in the world. Okay, so far I've spotted at least 2 references to other mods or community-driven nods. You okay? So it's really funny. If you're familiar with Angels with Scaly Wings and what goes on in the wider community, there's all little references going on here. Don't listen to him. As usual, he only tells half the story. Okay, so what's the other half then? I have an extensive love for botany. The fern he keeps in this room must be the happiest plant alive. I find gardening to be relaxing, especially when the birds are singing in the morning. It's so nice to go out there with a nice cup of tea and work in the garden of our apartment building. Which reminds me, Ipsum here has quite an extensive tea collection, although I'm not sure if he prefers to hoard tea or gadgets. It's kind of a mystery. I heard there was going to be a model of the Ipsum sphere that can actually make tea. That's going to be a must-buy. Can it also make cups, or you're supposed to sip it out of the sphere itself? Don't be silly. You two sound like an old couple, man. The couple? Us? Not really. We've known each other for a long time though, if that counts. I think it does. And by the way, Ipsum, you're not from here, right? What's that supposed to mean? Well, you look nothing like any other dragon I've seen here so far. I suppose it's true for Lorem as well, you're both pretty small. But you Ipsum also have hair. That's new to me. It's not as unusual as you might think, but you're right, there aren't many of us in these parts. I imagine being smaller than the rest of the population would come with its own challenges. It's not that big of a deal. If something's unreachable for me, I can fly. This apartment was actually intended to house one dragon of a bigger size. That only makes it fairly cheap, but it's also big enough for both of us. But there's one thing I've been wondering. How do you even sit in one of these chairs? Doesn't the backrest cause problems with your tails? I see what you mean, but for me, it's never been a problem, because most chairs are bigger than I am. It's just a question of getting into the right position. However, this might be different from those of us who mostly walk on 4 legs, but they usually don't have chairs like these at all. I've seen a few try though. I suppose they want to imitate humans this way. Even if they can't stand or walk like a human, they can try to sit like one. With varying results. Some I've seen look really funny, trying to fit in chairs they are too big for, or sitting in odd ways that clearly don't work with their anatomy. I see. Lurm, you asked me about breath weapons last time, but I don't think you ever told me if you had one. Probably because it isn't worth mentioning. It might only be a very small flame, but it can get very hot. What about you, Ipsum? Yeah, Ipsum, what about you? My breath weapon is elocution, since words are more powerful than anything else. Same as mine then. Okay, I'm done with this one. You can turn around. Really? But staring at the wall was so much fun. Let's make one more. Maybe something dynamic. How dynamic are we talking? JoJo style? Something that isn't static, like the reference models I just did. You can strike a pose. Something that's just you. Okay. What kind of pose do I go for? Normal, thoughtful. What's a normal pose? What does that even mean? Let's go thoughtful. Let's strike a real pose. What about this? Works. Yep. By the way, did you get the groceries when you came home from work? Yes, just as usual. Are you too sure you're not in a relationship? I certainly am. Actually, Ipsum is deeply in love with his home laboratory. Oh really? I'm not even going to deny that. When I'm not working on something at the office, I do so here. Okay, what you currently working on? I've been looking into the physics of teleportation. You're talking about the portal, right? Well, I don't have permission to even approach it, so I have to resort to a theoretical discussion on its mechanics and make do with what I can pull off in my home laboratory. Okay, maybe I could tell you a few things. That's not necessary. I've already read all the available test reports. Time to do a bit of timeline bending then. No, we know all the secrets. What about information that isn't in the test reports? I didn't think there was anything noteworthy. Oh, I can name a few things. Is that so? Okay, let's see. Don't try to hide anything. First things first, tell me what you do know. Are you aware that using the portal could be incredibly dangerous? Mostly. Let's see where you're going with this first. In order for a portal to function, a natural wormhole is required. It's trapped and becomes the portal's entry. The portal manipulates the wormhole's exit. This way, something can be sent to whichever destination is chosen. Now, there is a theory about the purpose of the natural wormholes in the universe. It states that they act as support pillars of the space-time continuum. How so? How to explain? I think the video game analogy worked pretty well. Sure, in a video game, what happens when you meet the edge of the map? You hit an invisible wall. That happens in some games, but in others, you reappear on the opposite side, like Pac-Man. I know the reference. Right. And how does this happen? If our world was a perfect sphere, someone could just keep flying in the same direction, and eventually they would end up at their starting point again. Sure. This is just a result of physics. In the abstraction of a video game, however, it doesn't work like that. They don't try to replicate a spherical world, but use a 2D plane instead. Okay, I'm getting confused. Imagine a piece of paper with a world map printed on it. Right. While it shows the entirety of the world, it's still just a simple flat piece of paper, rather than a sphere, right? Sure. Let's assume that in a game, our world map looks like that. Now, what happens when we approach the edge and walk over it is that we're teleported to the opposite side. Okay. This doesn't actually make the game world a sphere, but rather a torus. A torus. You know, like a donut. If that's the comparison you want to make, yeah. Okay. Now, things are going to get really complicated now. Are you familiar with the many-world interpretation of quantum mechanics? The multiverse theorem: every single time a choice is made by any actor that possesses free will, the universe splits off into different branches. Precisely. This means that for every choice you've made, there exists a branch of the universe where you made a different decision. Okay, I'll nod. Now, we can't communicate with these other branches in any way. You don't know what would happen if you made a different decision just this morning. You could make an educated guess, but the only person who truly knows what would have happened is that alternate you who'd made that decision and is living its consequences. That is, unless we could communicate with the other branches. However, there's a barrier that prevents us from doing that. This barrier is made up of wormholes. Okay, how does that work? It's very similar to the torus world model that's used in games. As we approach the edge of our own world, the barrier causes us to end up on the other side instead. Does that mean we get teleported to the other side like in a video game then? Not necessarily. It would just be as correct to assume that our universe is shaped like a torus. So which is it then? Do we get teleported or not? That depends on how you look at the wormhole's function. Imagine this sheet of paper is the entirety of our world. He takes a sheet of paper from Lorem's stack and showed it to me, marking a spot near the edge with a pen. And this is where you live. Unfortunately, your workplace is here on the other side. He drew an X close to the right edge of the paper. If the world's flat, this would be unfortunate. However, if the world's a torus, the left and right edges would be connected. You could take the shorter route to work by going over the edge. Now let's say that this is only possible because wormholes connect these two edges together. If you happen to be right at the very edge and look beyond, everything would perfectly be fine for you. Given that these wormholes stay in their place, you would never know that the world is actually flat and that you only travel to the other side because the wormholes connect the edges. You'd think that the world is a torus. Right. However, what if the wormholes don't actually bring you to the other side by teleporting, but instead just bend the paper into a torus shape and hold the edges together? If these wormholes failed or were displaced, the paper would unfold, throwing the world into disarray. And that's what the wormholes and the barrier actually do. They're what hold everything together. So they're really more like glue. If it wasn't for them, the overall construct would collapse in on itself. The entirety of space-time. Now, if these theories are true, that would mean that using a portal damages the barrier. Each time the portal's activated, the wormhole used for the teleportation is displaced, leaving a small gap where it used to be. Do this too often, and the overall system will destabilize eventually. Okay, maybe you shouldn't talk about your theories about how the world's gonna end. Actually, we'll keep going, as I have a theory to propose. Right, you said you could tell me things about the portal that wasn't already in the papers I read. What if the system's already destabilized? What if we just don't know it yet? What do you mean? Well, this might sound far-fetched, but let's pretend the universe was already destabilized, and the barrier is already collapsing in on itself. However, the universe itself is a lot more resilient than one might think, and this would open up opportunities of tampering with the fabric of reality in ways that one might not even expect would be possible. You know, instead of just everything falling apart at the seams. Okay, where are you going with this? The operating principle of the portal isn't just based on wormholes. It uses matter compression technology mixed with an internal black hole based time-space dilation to manipulate and create a stable wormhole. As in, it doesn't tamper with existing wormholes, it makes a new one. Wait, you're saying? Think about it. How are we certain the wormholes are natural occurrences in the first place? What if we can manipulate them at will? What if the wormhole is, in fact, created by the portal? That's a very interesting hypothesis. The problem is, this also means that the portal's damaging the barrier by displacing wormholes and making new ones. Circling back to multiverse theory, this would mean that there could be an infinite number of wormholes already in the same space at the same time, just among different choices. And what does this mean for the barrier, you suppose? Instead of suppose, I propose that the two aren't just merely correlated, but the same. The wormholes being created by the portal proves multiverse theory to be real by offering physical evidence of the multiverse being real, by virtue of the portal opening a gateway to a relative time and point in space where an outcome of a choice could be seen. So you're proposing time travel? Theoretically speaking, yes. And if time travel is possible, then the multiverse theory is real and the barrier has already been breached. Which means the barrier is already failing and has been for a long time. However, as I said, existence is a lot more resilient than we might think and could have a way of fixing such discrepancies or compensate for them. Never thought about it that way, but the evidence you just brought up does seem to be compelling. Of course it's compelling. You're the one who could stabilise the damn portal in the last cycle to make sure I didn't lose my memories this time around when I came back. Obviously, were that possible, there should be safeguards and checks into the portal that prevent wanton abuse of such an idea. Yes, there'd have to be, especially with the portal being public knowledge. We would have heard about people from the past showing up randomly, not to mention that it would cause massive problems if we could even trust the time travellers. And the face I made immediately made both of them give me a questioning look. Something the matter? Yeah, just thinking about how trustworthy a time traveller could be, you know? Right. He gives me a strange look. Damn, is he gonna figure it out? Probably. Anyways, nothing's gonna happen because the portal was used a few times. I just hope humanity is aware of the implications. Maybe we can collaborate. I certainly hope so. Your researchers seem to know what they're doing. I just wish I could be part of it. With everything that's going on, the future looks incredibly exciting. Okay, what do you think's going to happen, Ipsum? Now you'll get him started. Don't say I didn't warn you. The knowledge contained within your PDAs could propel innovation forward by unseen lengths, meaning a lot more experiments for you to do, which would be terribly exciting. Personally, I'm more interested in the social implications. What do you mean? I don't expect there to be just a back and forth of ambassadors forever. Are you talking about colonies? Oh, I bet Lurm would jump at the opportunity to live in the human world. Oh, I'm not sure that would be a good idea. Why not? Obviously, such an endeavour would need a lot of preparation. We'd need to learn about their culture and adjust appropriately. I'd expect we send an ambassador over there long before that would happen though. We hardly know anything about their world. I mean, that's what we have Remy for, right? Everything's still up in the air as far as diplomatic relations go. We have no idea what the situation could be like in just a week. Yes, it's exciting, right? Don't get too excited though, or else you're going to ruin your drawing. It's almost done. Here, what do you think? Lorem leaned over, holding the paper up to Ipsum. Ipsum looked at the paper closely, his gaze shifting back and forth between me and the paper several times. After a few seconds, he seemed to be finished with his evaluation. As a scientist, my professional opinion is that this part looks a little bit long. He pointed his sharp claw at the part of the paper Lorem was holding. Are you sure? Let's have a look. If I wasn't sure, I wouldn't have said it. I think you're right though. That I am. Lorem reached for his eraser, purging a few lines from the paper before he switched to his pen again. And it's done. See, what would you ever do without me? I don't think I'd hear as many explosions in the middle of the night. You were happy about it when you forgot to set your alarm that one time. Suddenly, the sound of an alarm resounded throughout the room. Oh, my experiment's done. Bye. There he goes. Charming fellow, isn't he? Yeah, he's fun. He certainly keeps things interesting around here, and he's a good art critic. I can imagine. Anyways, it looks like we're done here. Oh, it feels good to be able to move again. Would you like to stay for dinner? It'd be the least I could do to compensate you for your lost afternoon. I'd love to, however, I've already made plans for tonight, and I wouldn't want to be late for them. Next time, however, I'm definitely down for it if you are. I see, well, I've got to do something for you at least. It's my pleasure though. Minus having to stay still for the whole time, this was actually quite fun. How about I invite you again then? Sure, works for me. Cool, I'll think of something special. Just give me a call sometime and we'll figure the rest out. Sure, bye. Bye bye. I leave Lorem's apartment and immediately make my way toward another part of town to meet up with Remy. I wonder if this time will be as paranormal as the last one. Just go straight to Remy. No picking it from the list. Straight to Remy. Hello? Thanks again for helping me out the other day. Without you, I would have been trapped sorting books for a few more hours. Inviting you over for dinner is the least I could do. No problem, really. Besides, I'm also here to learn about your kind. Spending some time in the library is only appropriate. Well, my gratitude is yours regardless. Anyways, is there anything in particular you'd like to eat? Steak? Vegetarian? Let's go steak. Oh, you're in luck. I do have a few steaks we could dine upon. This might take a while, so make yourself at home. With those words, Remy walked into the partially walled off kitchen. There was no door, so I saw him open the fridge and take out 2 steaks before he set them on the counter. Soon after, he was already preparing the various ingredients with his somewhat clumsy paws. He was silent for a moment, and then lifted his snout and looked at me from over the partition. What's up? Oh, I was just thinking about something. I could help cook if you like. Don't worry. Alright? I looked around the apartment as Remy cooked, and couldn't help but notice the almost mesmerising tidiness that permeated the place. Shelves were filled with books, scrolls, magazines, and other various trinkets. Suddenly, the repetitious noise of vegetables being cut ceased as Remy returned from the adjoining room. I'll be back in just a minute. He went down the hall and vanished through the bathroom door. I picked up one of the framed photos to examine it more closely. It was a red dragon. I guessed that it was a female of a young adult of college age, though I wasn't sure, as it was still hard to tell without looking at the obvious signs. Her crimson scaled head was adorned with frills that ran down the back of her neck. She wasn't familiar to me. Then again, that goes to the apparition at the library last time. The second picture showed Remy in his typical attire, tie, glasses and all. The last of the 3 pictures was of another red dragon, who as far as I could tell was a fairly young member of its species. It reminded me of a younger version of Remy, although without his typical accessories. As soon as I put the third picture down, I could feel the same sense of dread and cold sit on my shoulders. It was like I was being watched. I slowly turned around. Nothing. The door to the apartment was closed. I didn't see or hear anyone. I could have sworn something was there. I closed my eyes, my voice barely a whisper. Amelia, are you there? I heard no response, but the feeling of being watched never left. If you're there, give me a sign. Maybe I can help. There was a brief pause. Then I felt something. A soft, warm feeling, like the gentle kiss of an angel. I slowly opened my eyes, and to my surprise, the feeling of dread was gone, but the feeling of being watched wasn't. I turned around to face the direction I thought the presence was coming from. There was a soft creak as the door swung open. The hallway was empty though. I took a step toward the doorway, a strange mix of emotions stirring inside me. I'm gonna have to talk to somebody about this, but who? It feels like Amelia's soul is still restless after all this time. Sorry Remy, your place is haunted? Something wrong? Remy's voice startled me, as I hadn't realised that he was back. No, I just got spooked a bit. Spooked? I don't know why, but just like back in your office a few days ago, there's this presence in the air. You can feel her too. Huh? Ever since my fiancée died a few years back, I could feel her spirit, always watching over me. So it was Amelia. How did you know her name? I closed my eyes and furrowed my brows before shaking my head. I can't tell you. Not yet? What do you mean not yet? If you know something about her, please, you must... You wouldn't believe me even if I told you everything, Remy. Just give me a bit of time. Remy's eyes narrowed before sighing. Fine, I won't push. Thank you, but how's dinner? Oh yeah, about that? I felt my stomach grumble quietly. I barely heard the muffled sound, but when I saw Remy's ears perk, I realised he'd more sensitive ears than I expected. Hungry already, I take it? I suppose, yeah. Although, your stomach already answered that question for you. After entering the kitchen once more, I saw the dragon looked over the kitchen partition again. His mouth opened a little, as though he was about to speak, but his brow scrunched with hesitation. Before I could say anything, he shook his head and continued to cook. Soon I heard the sizzling of frying meat as the delicious smell of steak wafted into the room. Fueled by its fragrant odour, I slowly lost myself to daydreams as I closed my eyes. Something wrong? Just salivating. Oh, it was nothing. I was just thinking about something. Well, food's ready. Enjoy. I looked down and saw that a plate was already in front of me, piled with steak and vegetables. Remy was already eating, so I took the knife he provided and cut off a small corner of the steak. Then I pierced it with the fork, its 3 prongs penetrating the flesh unrelentingly. Slowly, I raised it to my mouth, and my tongue glided over the bare substance briefly as it entered my lips. I took the first bite, a delicately crisp exterior with a much softer and juicy inside. It melted on my tongue like butter as the taste spread to even the remotest corner of my mouth. It was almost perfect. So, what were you thinking about? What? Remy's words snapped me back to reality. You said you were thinking about something. Okay, do you live here by yourself? My girlfriend? Why do you use the stove? What about you, Hammer? How you doing? Yeah, I do live here on my own. Honestly, you're the first person to visit in a while. He spoke softly, and his gaze wandered. Okay, pictures. I saw the pictures on the coffee table. I thought you might have a family. Oh, that's all in the past. I'm not even sure why those photos are still there. And I don't actually have children. The picture of the young dragon was the product of a silly little program that combined photos. They take images of 2 people and create what the pair's offspring would supposedly look like. I've always wanted children of my own though. I see. But then again, you seem to know more than you're letting on. I sigh, looking away. Just look up Ipsum's theoretical physics work sometime. How about you? Would you like to have children one day? Yes, no, not sure. I got no idea what's going on with Anna, to be honest. No idea. Why is that? I just don't know if it's a good time to bring a child into the world. I guess I'm not sure if I could be a good parent. Give yourself some credit. I often see parents that don't seem to be as aware about the whole situation as you are, and as a result have children they don't properly care for. Being conscious about it already makes you a better parent than them. But even so, I'm not sure it'd be possible. What do you mean? Well, let's just say that I have a girlfriend, and they're a dragon. Biology doesn't work like that, if you know what I mean. Oh, I see. Okay, let's talk about Emra. You met my boss. She was hanging around Tattoo Park. She certainly does that a lot. Let me give you one piece of advice. Don't ever work for a politician. Yeah, she looks like a real piece of work, if I do say so myself. So haughty, stuck up. Okay, about your cooking skills? Why do you use a stove to cook? I mean, can't you just use your fire? Well, for one, not all of us have that ability. Besides, we still appreciate the convenience that comes with appliances like this one, and not everyone wants to eat food cooked with somebody else's breath. Breathing fire indoors is also a little unsafe. Okay, makes sense. Cool, nothing else. How do you like the food? Delicious? Thanks. I suppose you learn to cook well when you live on your own for long enough. By the way, I noticed that you went to see Anna the other day. What was all that about? How do you know about that? I saw you two together a little before you left the building. That's kind of a long story. Why were you at the facility in the first place? She said I could come by. Apparently, she wants to run some tests on me. That's so typical of her. Let me tell you something. That woman's trouble. Big trouble. A few years ago, she was discovered performing unapproved, therefore illegal experiments. She'd been running them for a while under the assumption that she could be allowed to, but in the end, our council's ethics committee made the decision against her. I felt my skin flush as he starts berating her, but I keep my cool. I know he's going through a lot of shit, and what he's saying isn't exactly wrong. Anna's defense is that she was doing it for the greater good, and that she was confident that her experiments would be approved eventually. She lambasted us for not allowing her research and said our decision was short-sighted and stifling innovation. In the end, no proof of any actual wrongdoing could be found, so she basically got off scot-free. Since then, she's remained under the radar, until now. There are rumours going around about Anna. Surprise, surprise, her application involves human DNA. I'm trying really hard not to tear into him verbally at this point, and just barely I managed to keep my cool. Her casual disregard for rules of any kind should tell you what kind of person she is. She does have a brilliant mind, you know, it's just the way that she uses it. But she's manipulative, arrogant, abusive. I don't think you should trust her. And this is when I can't take anymore and try to set him straight without blowing a gasket. Maybe she isn't as bad as you say. You don't know her, nor should you bother getting to know her. Okay, that does it. Uh-oh. How much do you really know about Anna? Is it your job to go knocking on people's doors just because you heard rumours? I was just trying to help. Really? It sounds like all you did was harass her, without proof of any actual wrongdoing, so that's not particularly a good idea. Well, if that's what you think, then I just hope you'll at least be careful around her. I don't need to be careful. Maybe if you didn't go to her with threats and a bit more understanding, you would have seen beyond the council and the tabloid journalists' prejudices. After what I've heard of Emra and the way she conducts herself at work with you, I really would have thought you wouldn't stoop to her level, Remy. You're better than that. Oh, sorry, but I've had experience with her work before, though I do admit I was out of line. It's just that I was worried about you. Worried about me for what? I was afraid she might be taking advantage of you. People are always saying such horrible things about her, and you're not from here, so I feared she might manipulate you. And that's to say nothing of her application on something so taboo as doing research on human DNA of all things. For what it's worth, even if the council says no, there's nothing they can do to her about it anymore. Why would that be? Because she's already got written, stamped and notated express consent from humanity, from me. Even if the council would try to raise a big stink about how unethical it is, since both humanity and Dragonkind hasn't even finished their first mutual agreement, it's already too late to say no to her, because our side of the question already approved her idea. Besides, just because I'm an ambassador doesn't mean my biology degrees don't exist. Her work is just as scientifically interesting to me as it is to her. What? That's right, I signed her papers. How could you? Why would you? I look at him in the eyes squarely, and he can see a determination that's not entirely unfamiliar to him. It's the same kind of determination he once had for Amelia. I'm kind of worried that Remy's going to kick us out, to be honest. Oh, goodness. She's the girlfriend you're talking about, isn't she? Yes, she is. I knew there was something off about you. Remy, listen, I get why you think she's terrible, I really do. And it's not like she didn't do questionable things back in the day. But I know a few things about her that I bet you weren't going to share with me right now, and didn't even think that I would know. What do you mean? Like the fact that up until a few days ago, thanks to my intervention, she was dying of cancer. What? I know you're snooping around her medical papers, Remy. You're not the only one who isn't supposed to know about her condition. However, unlike everybody who's out to paint her like a monster, I've at least tried to help her. So that's why you went there the other day. I'll take a deep breath and exhale in a long deep sigh. I really didn't want to talk to you about this now, but Ipsum's theorem, have you heard of it? Vaguely. I'm not much of a physicist, so I'm afraid I don't understand it very well. Basically, it's a take on multiverse theory thanks to the portal connecting our worlds together. That thing's also a time machine. So I've been using it for, I don't know how long. For ways to try and set things right in this world, one of which is trying to get that damn cure for Anna's cancer. If I hadn't interfered, she never would have gotten it. She never would have invented it in time. Okay, so what does that have to do with Ipsum's theory? What it has to do with his theory is that it's not just a theory, it's reality. Using the portal time travel is very much feasible, and I've come back from a time where the cure Anna was so desperate to find through her research already exists. I brought a sample with me for the express purpose of getting to save her. Are you sure that what you're saying is not just the ramblings of a crazy person? No, I'm not. I could be a delusional schizophrenic who thinks that he's from the future, but that wouldn't change the fact that if you snoop into her medical records again, her cancer has mysteriously gone into remission all of a sudden, as of a few days ago. You have to admit, it does sound insane. I know, but the alternative is that she would die, and that would be an absolute disaster, one I don't intend to live through a single time more. Okay, so what does that have to do with you? A lot, more than I can even say. Anna and I, we have a very complicated relationship, okay? One where we've helped each other and saved each other's lives more times than we can count. For it all to be erased by either the wrong world ending or her dying of cancer, or worse. I couldn't take it anymore, Remy. I just couldn't. Okay, so why should I believe any of this? You don't have to if you don't want to. It's a hell of a lot to swallow, but frankly, it doesn't matter. I've saved her life, and she genuinely loves me and cares about me. Unlike that prickly bitchy attitude she's showing you, she's a completely different person with me, because she can be genuine with me without fear of being persecuted or taken advantage of. I'm just surprised. Don't be. She's not the same person everybody says she is. Which reminds me, you said something about meeting my boss, then you just said something about the world ending. Some new paperwork was put on me by Emra recently about researching some kind of incoming comet that needs re-evaluation. Was that? Yes, that was me too. And yes, that thing is what I'm talking about when I said only for the world to end. I'm just so tired of it all, Remy. You know, for what it's worth, I'm sorry for being so judgmental toward her. Now that the two of us have had a chance to calm down, the evening could return to a less heated and angry tone. Soon, both of our plates were picked clean. I guess I judged your portion correctly. Do you want some more? I'm good, thanks. That was an interesting steak. What kind of meat was that? Those were aurochs steaks. Are you familiar with that animal? I mean, I've heard of aurochs before. They're rather large bovine mammals characterised by their horns and body shape. We get a range of products from them, from meat to milk, to sub-products like butter and cheese, in addition to leather, felt, oils and creams. We even use their horns and bones for a variety of things. This sounds similar to an animal we have back at home, but speaking of unfamiliar creatures, why don't you tell me more about your species? Are you referring to me or all of us? Our society is comprised of a number of different species, which you've probably already noticed by now. I guess all of you, so let's start with the basics. I'm sure you're aware, but unlike the mammalian aurochs, we're reptiles. Though it does make me wonder about you. Based on your fur, I guess that you're a mammal, but you're kind of different from the other mammals that we know. In the same vein, you don't share many characteristics with our reptiles back home. And by the way, we don't have fur, we have hair. What's the difference? There actually isn't one. They share the same chemical structure, so the distinction is pretty much arbitrary. I suppose it's just a way to distinguish the same structure in humans from that in non-human animals. Is that so? Interesting. I was wondering something though. Are you wearing all those coverings to make up for a lack of hair? I suppose that's one reason why humans wear clothes. They also provide warmth and protection, and are used to differentiate us from one another. Sometimes uniforms are used as identification, other times clothes are just ornamental. What a person wears can tell us something about the person itself. Sounds complicated. We also have uniforms and wear some things for ornamental reasons, though our uses aren't quite as extensive. Which brings up an interesting question. Are you endo or exothermic? We produce our own body heat. Unusual. Where I come from, all reptiles are exothermic, unless you count birds as reptiles, I guess. But none of your reptiles are sentient, correct? Maybe it has something to do with our different brain structures. Maybe. But now that you've been in our world for a while, how'd you like it here? I like the people, some more than others. It's good to hear. Cultural differences can make things very difficult sometimes, even within the same species, but I'm glad that things are working out for you so far. Oh, just remembered, I was able to save my game after all, though I've been keeping the save every 10 minutes thing you mentioned in mind. I'm glad to hear it. I was quite relieved when I found it. You know, if that hadn't worked out so well, I would have even considered making you play up to that point again for me. I wouldn't mind playing some of your video games. Is that so? Yeah, they're fun. I'd like to see what kinds of games you have here, and how they differ from humankind's games. Okay, cool, I'll keep it in mind. Perhaps I can show you sometime. I recall telling you back in the library that I'm actually helping someone develop their own game in my free time. Right, that slipped my mind. You know, I'm glad that you're here. Since you arrived in our world, we haven't really had the chance to just sit down and talk. Well, except for that argument about Anna just now. Yeah, it's been a busy time for me, as you can imagine. Oh, of course. Thanks for taking the time to pay me a visit. I always have so many things to take care of that it's hard for me to find something so simple like this. At least it worked out this time. You do have a point though. I don't really know that much about you. I know where you work, but most of our conversations so far have revolved around things other than you and me. Why don't you tell me more about yourself? I don't really like talking about myself. Why not? I guess I wouldn't know what to say. I'm not really that interesting. I don't believe you. There's also the uncertainty of not knowing how the other person will react to something I say. I don't want to embarrass myself. Hey, at least you told me that. That's something. I suppose. Anyway, now that you've seen my apartment, I'm wondering what your home on the other side of the portal looks like. It's nothing special. Yours is prettier. Actually, everything here looks nice in comparison to back home. Is that so? In some ways, I'm not really looking forward to returning, but it's not like I have a choice in the matter. I suppose you could always visit if you wanted to. It wouldn't be that easy, I'm afraid. There was an extensive process involved for selecting who would go through the portal, and I was one of many applicants. I'm still surprised that I ended up being chosen. And what about that time travel thing you said? Let's just ignore me having to redo my actions in this world hundreds of times and move on from that. So, what have you been up to since the last time I saw you? You mean since I went into the kitchen and cut the steaks? Yes. Really? No. Oh, I believed you for a moment. I guess you got me there. Oh, with all the talking, I totally forgot about dessert. Oh, I'm up for that. Then I have just the right thing for you. I'll be just a minute. He neatly stacked our dishes before he took them into one of his forepaws and went back into the kitchen using his other 3 limbs. I couldn't help but think that it looked pretty awkward. When he returned balancing a plate with a rather attractive cake slice in a similar manner, I realised that he'd have to take multiple trips to carry everything to the table. As soon as I stood up and moved toward him, he made a strange face and spoke up. No, please sit down. I can handle it. You're my guest. Remy, I've seen you drop that plate hundreds of times. I insist. Are you going to pull the whole time travel thing now of all times? I sigh and sit back down. Fine. He can tell by the look on my face that I'm serious, which does make him pause and think. Once he placed the first cake slice on the table, he went back to fetch the other, and when he approached the table a second time though, one of the tiny dessert forks started to slip off the plate. I didn't even wait for him to try and reach with his free forepaw to save it. I lunged ahead and dove toward him, landing on the ground just as he fell over. In an instant, the plate, fork, and cake slice flew through the air. The dish and silverware clattered as I caught it all, saving the cake. Remy, we told you. Poor Remy. As I sat up and looked at the white dragon splayed with legs parted on the floor, I think that's called a sploot. Look that word up. I silently gave him a look that spoke 1,000 words, and it was the look of I told you so. For a few moments there was silence as Remy and I looked at the result of his blunder. I'm sorry. You don't need to apologise. This isn't just about you and your cake. This always happens to me, no matter how hard I try. You have proper hands, and so do some of the other species. How can someone like me even be a librarian? Not a day goes by without me dropping a scroll and unfurling it across the room. But the customers don't care, or pity me too much to say anything. It's a common sight to them after all. This is about Emma, isn't it? I guess it is. I just don't see why someone like me got to be a librarian when there were others more qualified for the position, or who were at least capable of not dropping the inventory on a daily basis. She makes fun of you. I knew it. I mean, why else would she have me doing all these tasks all the time? Sorting books, carrying things from one place to another. I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't work somewhere where my worth is only in the entertainment that I provide. Okay, have you considered looking for a new job? These positions have terms similar to those of ministers. If I ended my employment prematurely, it wouldn't look great. Okay, how long have you got left on your contract? A while. You should resign. Consequences be damned. That's easier said than done, but maybe I should consider it. I just wanted to have a nice evening with you, and now it ended up like this. I shouldn't have brought it up. Then let's not talk about it further. Look, I even learned from my time travel and saved the second slice. You really won't let that go, will you? Nope. I helped him up and escorted him back to the couch so we could sit down and eat our cake. It seemed unreal that someone with his personality could still eat his entire slice with a single bite, when I took much longer with my tiny fork, and we both had double the cake this time. By the end of dessert, he seemed a little different, though I couldn't pinpoint how. Eventually, we said our goodbyes after he apologised one more time about Anna, and I left. Looks like we're back at our apartment. Another day of meeting dragons. Man, things are busy. I'm feeling a bit antsy about not meeting Anna for a while now, but I have to stay resolved. And despite another haunting experience with Remy, and having to put him in his place about Anna, despite everything, today was a good day. I climbed back into bed, once more missing the warmth and the softness of Anna's scales, but eventually sleep did claim me. And that's going to have to do for this video. But we got more people to be visiting, and we're going to be doing that in the next episode. This is it for now. This is Ushio signing off, and hopefully I will see you next time.